What's up, guys? So, warning, this video is not Magic the Gathering related. Uh, I've really been seeking a second game, something to do when I get a little burnt out from MTG. I think having more than one game really helps you stay in the game longer. Like, if all I do is play like 50 games of Magic every day, I'm gonna get burned out, and that's how people get burned out. So, I've been spending time really trying to get amped up about another game. Everyone's been talking about Hearthstone and Scrolls, and I've been waiting patiently for Hex. And I'm a big supporter. I was a Kickstarter donator, and you guys have obviously heard about it from me before. It's it combines all the coolness of a TCG and an MMO together. If it delivers on what Cory's talking about, their CEO, and what the press releases have talked about, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great alternative if I'm not feeling Magic or I want to do a little MMOing, right? I also play World of Warcraft, and I enjoy that, and I enjoy all the Final Fantasies. I enjoy the RPG aspect. So what I've done is I've started this Hex channel, as you guys already know, and I actually scored an interview with the CEO of Cryptozoic Gaming, Cory Jones. Famously did a hilarious Kickstarter video. They raised over $2 million on their Kickstarter. This game is going to be awesome. And so I asked questions I thought Magic players might be interested in. And then I also did a second part of the interview where people who are more interested in the actual game Hex, I put that over on the Hex channel, which is linked down below. So don't be pissed off that this is like non-Magic related content, right? Because I still think it applies, and I'll very rarely do anything like this. Like, once the alpha for Hex comes out, which will be next week, you won't see Hex videos here on the Magic channel. You're going to see them on the Hex channel. And so don't spaz out. I just thought it's really interesting. Maybe you want to listen to something while you eat your Wheaties this morning. So hopefully this will do the job for you. I appreciate you guys being patient. I hope you guys give the game and my other channel a chance to earn some of your free time. So I'll talk to you again later.
I don't know if you get any chance to really look at the list ahead of time. I know you're busy, but
Yeah.
ideally what I like to do is just answer like the MTG versus Hex questions, and then just the Hex questions, so I could actually put like the questions that relate that a lot of the Magic players asked on my Magic channel, which is like 30,000 subscribers roughly now, and then
Great.
use also a piece of it to put on the Hex channel, which is brand new and growing and stuff like that.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I really polled all my subscribers on the Magic the Gathering channel, and everyone knows about your game. I mean, it's not much news to them when I say, well, have you heard of this, or what kind of questions you have? And I just asked them to do some like basic questions, and I picked what I thought would be interesting maybe to ask you, and also what was less like vanilla and stuff like that. Stuff that Magic players want to know. Because we all
Great.
have...
I'd love to answer them.
Okay, great. So one of the questions a lot of people ask is, would there be card sets like with Magic? How Magic has like a block and then several releases and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things I say often about the game is that first and foremost, we are a TCG company. And so you'll see a lot of people saying, hey, we're going to make a digital card game, or we're going to make a digital CCG, not a TCG, because we don't have this or that. And the reality is that most of these places don't have any actual trading card game designers there. They're people who are maybe some Magic players, they play card games for a long time, they're video game people, but they don't have any actual trading card game people.
Sure.
Our company is the opposite. We didn't have any video game people, which we brought in engineers and designers. But what we did have was TCG people. And so we've been making, the World of Warcraft trading card game for many years. And so I have an incredibly, sort of robust team. And when it comes to making TCGs, and one of the important things we realized was that the meta has to be incredibly robust. And so if you don't we're going to actually go with 4 sets a year, make up a block. So we're doing the smaller but more often sets because it allows you better course correction. and then we have a 2-block rotation. And so we're doing all the things necessary to make sure that we have a meta that is as rich and robust as possible. Because if you, I don't want it to be that one of our big tournaments in the top 8 decks, there's 2 decks. I want there to be 4 decks or 5 decks. That to me is healthy meta, and that is going to be what is most exciting to people. Being a slightly more Johnny player myself, I like deck building. I like figuring out, combos and fun ways to win that aren't just net decking. And so I feel like our game, because creativity and the sandbox gameplay and all that stuff is so much a part of what we're doing, that making sure when it comes to tournament play, that level of creativity is, a part of the experience.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. I'm more of like a casual try-hard. Like, I just like to win, but I do enjoy a little bit of rogue deck building and kind of have a little bit of fun, so I think people will be happy to hear that. One of the other another question some people asked really was, what aspect of HEX do you think stands out that separates it from other, so that people won't say it's just another TCG?
Yeah. So that's the part where as a designer and as an inventor, innovation is what drives my passion set. I'm a hardcore trading card game player. I played Magic from the day it came out. I was in pro tours. I loved Magic, and I love all games. You'll see Cryptozoic. I mean, we make a bunch of different board games, and I've been in the video game industry for 20 years. For me, the idea of innovation had to go lockstep with even trying to do this. And so not stopping at TCG, but adding in that little MMO part of it, that was not just me saying like, hey, what are 2 popular things and how can we marry them together? It was saying, hey, these 2 things have a lot in common, and the innovation that it allows us to create by bringing those 2 together is just incredible. You'll notice that, and this is the part that blows my mind, you'll notice that a lot of the digital TCGs, I put that in quote because for me, a trading card game is a game with pass priority. If you don't have pass priority, you're a card game. And that's, to me, the big differentiator. So you'll notice that even in a lot of the digital card games out there, and specifically digital TCGs, they haven't taken advantage of the digital space at all. Like, it's mind-boggling, because every time we design some feature where we're like, oh, it'd be cool because we're a digital game, we can create cards that go in their deck, and then it does this, and when they draw them, it triggers this other effect. Every time we come up with one of these ideas, it's like it spawns 10 more ideas, and each of those has 10 ideas. It's an embarrassment of riches in terms of design space, and it just blows my mind that there aren't games out there that have taken advantage of it to the way that we plan to, even from set 1 on. I mean, again, I tend to ramble, so please stop me if I'm going too long with these answers.
Go ahead, I love it.
But you look at the idea of sandbox gameplay married to a TCG. MMOs are all about being part of a community and expressing myself and being somebody that I level myself up and I become part of this larger world. And so you look at all that means and all that connects back into in terms of creativity, and you're talking about a TCG that has the first ever sort of sandbox component with socketed cards, with the equipment that changes the cards, with the champions that modify how your deck works. You're talking about a level of combinatorials that really is in the billions and creates real sandbox play. And if you boil it all down to why are we different from everything else out there, 1, we have that sandbox gameplay element that makes this into a completely different experience. And then 2, we've married this to all the features you've ever wanted in terms of being able to play with your friends, be in guilds, be on a team, enter tournaments, all that stuff that was just kind of like, if I sat down as a consumer, which is what I did, and said, what do I want from a product as a guy who's played TCGs from the fucking day they came out until now, what do I want? And this is the game that I want, because I can't go to a card shop anymore. I got a kid, I got a business, I got stuff I have to do, but at 10 o'clock at night, I can still get on my PC. This is the game I want to play. Right. So I think we're very, very different from anything else that's ever existed, much less anything else that's out there right now.
So it's a lot more than just mixing chocolate with peanut butter and
the funny thing is I've used that analogy before. Like, it's a chocolate and peanut butter invention in some ways, sure, because that's easy to understand.
Sure.
TCGs are delicious and MMOs are delicious, and together they're just extra good. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a chocolate and peanut butter invention in some ways, but I will say we're like those ones where they use dark chocolate maybe, and then they have sprinkles. I don't know.
Sure.
I love innovating, and I love that every time we come up with a brand new idea, like the keep defense system, where it's like users get to come up with 3 decks, and that's the puzzle, and they have a treasure trove in their castle, which is 1,000 gold, and it costs 100 gold to assault their castle. So you've got to come up with your deck, try and beat their puzzle. So player-defined puzzles that are then community solved. Like the community will get together. So if someone's like treasure pile in their keep ends up being 100,000 gold because no one can beat this guy's puzzle, all they're like, because you can't take it apart. You have to wait until somebody beats it. It'll be on the forum saying, like, if you played this guy's castle, Lord Blackmort has this castle, and I can't beat it. He's got 100,000 gold. And so what was the first deck? Okay, what was the second deck? And then there'll be like community figuring out how to solve that puzzle. That alone is something that you don't really, I can't think of a game that I've seen that in particularly, this idea that the individual creates puzzles that the community tries to solve with all these other things with TCGs mixed in. So that level of innovation over and over and over in terms of how we address everything is, I think, what really sets this apart. We didn't invent MMOs, clearly. We didn't invent TCGs, clearly. But when we did invent bringing them together. Sure. And we are inventing a whole lot of fun ways to make that amazing.
Wow. So now you're making me like, I wish the alpha was out like tomorrow.
Well, so what do we got here? 8 days. This is me. You hear?
Yeah.
That's knocking on wood. We're rushing like we're trying.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I know everyone's really excited, and it's funny to see all the, like in my space with YouTube, and there's like all these HEX channels popping up, so you can just, it's just awesome. Another question the MTG community was asking was, so how aware of the secondary market are you going to be, or will there be a secondary market when you release these sorts of sets, and does that affect your decision making and the cards you put out?
Well, it doesn't affect the decision making in terms of what types of cards we put out, because we're trying to make the most fun, balanced possible game. We believe there will be a secondary market. We have a full auction house built into the game. You can trade cards with other people. I want there to be a robust economy. When it comes to, because we don't have a real money auction house, we have an auction house, but when it comes to the stuff that lives outside the game, I think the policy is going to be kind of to turn a blind eye to it, like you've seen with other popular games, where people can buy and sell and trade the stuff, and we do the best we can to help make sure that's all fine, but it's kind of outside of our purview, and that's important for a company that makes collectibles. We cannot be involved in the secondary market at all. There can be no taking advantage of what is hot or popular, and that's a big part of it. We're very good at that. We've been running a TCG for quite a while. The World of Warcraft TCG, and so I feel like there will be a great secondary market for the cards. I'm definitely 100% dedicated to the security of the game. As I've made clear many times, we've built in a lot of redundancy, a lot of analytics. We believe we've created a system that will be secure. If anything goes wrong, I have the ability to roll back on an individual basis and fix it. I will accept zero. I have a zero tolerance personally policy for anyone that's going to try and take advantage of the community. So anyone that finds an exploit and tries to use the exploit to take advantage of an individual or the community at large in terms of, devaluing their cards because they were able to dupe. I will have zero tolerance for it. They will be immediately banned. And again, people have asked the question, well, does that mean if I find a bug or I don't know? Please. If you find a bug or you do something you don't know is a bug and it is an exploit, I'm going to be able to see the behavior. If you did it once or twice, fine. If you did it 100 times and sold them on the auction house, that wasn't you making a mistake. That was you taking advantage.
Yeah.
So believe me, I'll know. And I have zero tolerance for it because these are people's virtual collectibles, and the sanctity of those collectibles is hyper important.
Yeah, that's really important. And too, for me, as like mostly an online player, I play. One big thing I'm super excited for with HEX is the, how do I say, like, I'm so used to Magic Online, and HEX looks like, so Magic Online is like going to Dogpile in 1994 as like my search, like it seems so outdated, and then HEX seems so like fun and new and really advanced in terms that will make collecting more fun for me than now. It's just like a huge mess, with Magic cards. I have a huge collection there, but I don't want to do anything with it because it's so cumbersome.
Right, right. Well, the goal for us is definitely to make it feel, the way that, like, if you've seen, I'm sure you've seen some of the stuff, but like double backs, for instance, where you level up the individual cards, and so your collection of burns is like, I put these in decks, and I'm going to unlock all the like each of them have 3 achievements on the back, and if I unlock it, I get an extended art version. And then if I do enough damage, like each of them has a leveling bar that's different depending on the card. So with those, if I do enough damage with them, then I fill a leveling bar, and they turn foil. And so having that level of investment into the individual cards too is kind of a fun thing. And so your collection, you can go through and be like, you know what? I love playing with Pack Raptors. What are the 3 achievements? All right, I'm going to do these 3 achievements because I want extended art versions on these cards. So it just becomes all these we tried to make them like fun little mini games built into every single card. Like the level of minutia and design we put into everything in this game is mind-boggling. And then when you get over and play the first 50 dungeons, and each of those feels different and puzzly, and they're crazy challenges, and then how you build a deck to beat them, and then but if I beat this guy with this card, one of its achievements is beating a certain guy in a certain dungeon with this named card, who's his arch enemy. It's like, I gotta go beat that dungeon with these cards and make a deck that includes these guys, because then I can unlock the achievement.
Yeah.
You can see what I'm talking about when I say, like, you start to synapse together all the variables, and all of a sudden it just opens up this web of innovation opportunity that I'm just, like I said before, shocked that no one has done it before.
Well, Magic players, 2 things that you touched on there that is really important to Magic players, some sections of Magic players and TCGs in general, is like pimpage, which would be like foiling out your cards and all that sort of stuff. And then those little minute side quests, and that's a big deal for a lot of people. I mean, for me it's I like doing it sometimes when I'm sick of playing. You go do something else, It's
you
great.
Definitely tried to make PvE feel like you're not just playing a TCG over and over again. There's lots of different mechanics that use TCG cards. Like there's one that there's multiple that feel like deck building games, and there's ones that feel like you're building a team, and then you get points, and you get to add star players to your team as you're in the arena. You got all these different ways to play games that are still based off TCG cards. So your collection has a completely different sort of patina to it in terms of how you can use all the stuff that you've gotten. And then actually as a player, like being able to go do single player content when I want to, test decks, or just kind of have fun and not be worried about playing against someone else, it's a very different feel. And I totally hear what you're saying. Like I like the little challenges that, for instance, the achievements on the back of the cards represent. Because if I make my tournament level deck that I'm very proud of, because I used to play, I played a white-green Ernemgeddon deck, and I did very well with it. I was a master of that deck. I could tell you what card was going to come off the top of my deck next. I had that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards. It was insane. And I had collected all my plains and forests were arena lands. And I had the alternate art versions of Disenchant. And this is back when that had just first was the thing. And people would see me play all these arena forests and plains and be like, "Oh my, where'd you get those?" And and so it was just a super fun thing that I loved. And so I like that about this game, is that we have, for instance, deck sleeves that are collectible. So, and you can only get them certain ways. They're very, very hard to get. They're very specific on how you get them. So if you attended, for instance, a live event, you may get a sleeve from there. It'd be the only place you can get it. The Kickstarter has some sleeves with it, alternative art versions of cards, the leveling, and also the foiling. There's just all these ways that allow you to invest. And I think about, hey, I've made my Dwarven robot deck that I'm super excited to be playing in this big tournament with. I'm going to go in and, foil out those 4 rares and get extended art on those 4 rares, because that would be awesome. We've got tons of that.
And that leads into another great question that I actually had. Somebody was asking, so how will HEX handle, for example, with Magic, there's standard, modern, so 5 years from now when you have, all this stuff, so, and then that goes into the collectible aspect too. So do you see yourself supporting different kind of levels of play?
Yes, absolutely. So the great thing also about it being digital only is that there's going to be always tournaments firing off. So we have this whole menu system that looks like a cable TV system where you can see all the times running across the top, and then going down will be all the different tournaments, and then tabs at the top will be limited, constructed, regional. And so you'll be able to go in and pick and choose which tournaments and sign up for stuff in the future. And it'll send you message alerts that, hey, your tournament's going to be tomorrow at noon. Don't forget. But in that will be lots of different formats. And we've come up with a bunch of, we haven't even told everyone all the formats. So we have all these crazy formats we've come up with that are about being digital, which is an amazing thing. But then also, yes, we will be supporting, when it first starts, of course, there's just one set. So, I mean, but in the future, we will have rotation. We will have different formats that bring back certain cards. We may even, we've talked about bringing in a core set. So we may re-release cards in the future that were from sets before because we want to keep those cards in play because they're staples, like Burn. Then you'll definitely have different types of tournaments. Even from the beginning, though, we have our version of Unlimited from the beginning because we have this thing where you're going to be able to play with your PvP and PvE cards. So you can bring in leveled champions, gear, all the crazy PvE, just over-the-top stuff, and play in this tournament format where all that's okay. And so it's sort of our like Unlimited format from minute one. And I think that's going to be totally fun. People are going to go crazy. And it's so over-the-top broken that it comes back around to being not broken.
Yeah,
because there's so many ways to be degenerate that you won't know which degenerate thing you're going to play against. So it kind of oddly balances itself by being too crazy.
Yeah, and that's a great way to reward people. There is that sect of players that are always looking for that infinite combo or, that sort of thing, and it gives you a chance to play it.
We're being careful about that. Like, we understand, like I made the example of, like, to make a nuclear bomb, you got to know how to, like, weaponize the uranium. So we're definitely making sure that we don't weaponize uranium so that you don't have the tools to build the degenerates too much. Like, not watching what we allow to be reduced to zero. I don't want infinite combos if possible. I'd like it to be like, some crazy combos and fun stuff, but not just like, I didn't like you can date me by my goofy Magic references, but like the Prost Bloom era stuff where it was just like, I played in Pro Tour Paris and I lost against 4 Prost Blooms in a row. And I was just like, really? I sit here jerking off while you do your thing, and then you win. It's like this is not a good play experience, in my opinion.
That's like eggs.
And it was frustrating to me as a player who flew to Paris to be in a pro tour.
Yeah.
And so,
well, that's in the current meta. There was eggs, and then eventually you move to some sort of ban list where those cards are banned, and maybe there'll be a day when Hex has to do that, or just remove a card.
Like I've told people, it's a good point. It comes up quite a bit when we talk. Internally and in the community for Hex, we will not modify cards. So it's because it's digital, we could nerf cards, but any card that comes out of a PvP pack, any PvP card will never be nerfed, it'll only be banned. So I will ban digital cards when I could just go in and fix them, but I have to because the sanctity of your collectible is what's most important to me. Now what I have said is that on the PvE side, PvE cards, equipment, and heroes/champions, champions/mercenaries, those things I will modify because I don't want to trivialize the PvE content, and I also don't feel like banning that stuff is the right decision because it's part of the like single/multiplayer game stuff. So I've just set the precedent now. That stuff can be nerfed, although we're going to do our best not to. I don't imagine we'll have to because we're usually pretty good about that sort of thing. We didn't ban many cards in WoW. But on the PvP side, under no circumstances will I nerf a card. I'll ban it, but that's it.
Okay, so this will be like the last Magic community question, and then
no problem.
Maybe I'll give you like a if you gotta get a drink or something, and then we'll do the Hex questions real quick. So a lot of the kind of the holy grail, at least I think when you're a younger player or as you get more serious, is that competitive, that kind of pro competitive level. Do you see Hex supporting that sort of thing at some point?
Oh yeah, I've talked about this at length. So Magic, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, Magic created eSports. Like before Magic, what was there? Before Magic there was chess. There wasn't. Poker. Those are the things that had competitive, but Magic sort of created what really kind of became modern esports. You had a bunch of gamers meeting at places, hundreds of them, qualifiers, and so I think it sort of predated modern esports. And so it's important that people realize that it should have the benefits of what you're seeing in modern esports now. And so what I'm going to do is create an esports component to HEX that has, and again, we're working on it right now, real cash prizes as part of its, you've seen lately with, League of Legends, Dota, StarCraft, people are able to play, online games as an actual job. And so I want HEX to be part of that mix. And so what that means is I'm going to have real cash prizes as soon as I can figure out how to make that happen. But beyond that, the kind of support you see with League, if the game is big enough and there is enough interest, I want to have live events. I want to have shoutcasting. I want to bake people into celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
I want to find those people that can be our esports stars and help build up, sort of a...
Excuse me.
No problem. Help them build up a following around it. And so that to me, esports is super important. And I really do want to have quarterly live events. I want to put on, I have this big plan I've talked about, about bringing in game stores to a digital game. And I got a way that I'm thinking about having, the ability for game stores to run 8-man drafts on a series of iPads and get some store, the store gets credit and then they make money off of that. So you actually have in-store events that are based on a digital game. No one's done that. It could be awesome.
Yeah, that
and
could
so,
be.
Yeah, esports is super important to me and a real big focus. Right after delivering the best game possible, esports is right at the top of the list.
Great. Yeah, that's I have to say, one of the early things I heard about the game was this like unicorn of real cash prizes, and as somebody who, honestly, I put myself through college playing online poker, and then of course that was banned for some reason. But so when that came along, one of the big reasons I play so much draft on Magic is I just love to compete, and so the cards almost don't even matter to me. I just like to compete and play in the big tournaments and have a chance to win, and cash is always pretty awesome. It's a better prize than digital packs or something like that.
Yeah, you wait till you see. I mean, I built an entire plan that's more about. It's about giving away real cash. It's about qualifiers. It's about. I mean, I have a pretty big plan in terms of how we're going to make this work. We're vetting it right now. It's looking good right now, and it's not just about the cash. It's about a lifestyle. It's about the support we can give to a community to sort of build it into this esports. And I've told this story before, and I apologize to people who've seen me on tell these same stories over. I feel like an old person telling the same stories over and over again. When I was a kid, but being in the Olympic Stadium in Korea when StarCraft 2 was announced, because I was working at Blizzard at the time, and just the 60,000 people in that arena and the gasps, and just makes your hair stand on end. People were so excited. It was such a big deal to those gamers. I was so blown away, and I think I know what HEX can be. I know what would be amazing in terms of esports, and I just have this dream of doing what League of Legends did by selling out Staples in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
that's incredible. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever be there, but I would love if we did have this really robust esports community as part of what we did, and there was the ability for people to be a star and to make money and have endorsements and all that great stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm gonna end the MTGHQ part quick. So
right.
Don't be freaked out if I say thanks a lot. So thanks, Cory, for answering the questions for the fellow Magic the Gathering players, those of us who are interested in adding a new game to our repertoire. And I appreciate all the time you gave us today.
It's no problem. I hope that everyone who plays TCGs and loves TCGs gets a chance to try HEX. The great thing is it's free to play, so you can jump in and at least just check out what we've done, get a look at how slick all of the interface is, everything we've done to make it fun and accessible. And I think that anyone who loves TCGs as much as we all do, this is really a labor of love. And so I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy to have everyone get a chance to check it out, and especially they can check it out for free, so you don't even have to take a chance. You can just check it out.
Over at hextcg.com, right, where you can get more information there and eagerly anticipate the alpha release like me.
There you go.
I really hope you enjoyed this video. Check out some of our most popular playlists, everything from MTG vlogs, gameplay video, new product breaks, and some insane vintage openings. And if you haven't yet, here's your opportunity to crush that subscribe button to join the fastest growing Magic the Gathering channel on YouTube. Thanks again, and we'll see you real soon.